first thing tonight is something that's been going around on Twitter a lot recently, especially if you follow me on Twitter. There was a book. A book was donated to a library in some high school, and someone found the book, and the book had sexual things in it, not in a porny way, in a first-hand account educational way from the perspective of a queer person. And, well, they got very mad. I'm sure you've seen the picture of the person sucking on a strap-on. I'm sure you have. POV work, too. Good job. And they're just chock full of cum-brain, full-bald takes. So, Lauren Chen, who congratulations, Lauren. You who have decided to procreate. I really hope that goes well for you. And I hope that your child doesn't turn out to be someone that you have routinely denigrated and refused equal rights in this country. Let's carry forward, huh? Here's Lauren Chen.
Hey, Lauren here. Let's talk
Gross books. Book is in high schools everywhere.
about the extremely inappropriate and extraordinarily woke book that is somehow making its way into high schools across the country.
Right.
As you guys probably realize, at the moment there is a reckoning happening between parents and public schools, and I, for one, am living for it. For too long, in my opinion, teachers, administrators, and school board members have treated schools like mini indoctrination camps.
Bro, I know this narrative is happening on the right, and it's pretty weird. Have they been to a school? Have any of them taught anything ever? Like, teachers aren't that invested in political messaging. Like, it's really not a thing. They're worried about grading, and they're worried about paying their bills and coaching later and getting their kids to pass their fucking classes and making sure that they can have leftover money to buy fucking erasers for the chalkboard. They're not really worried about political messaging, dude. It's not that big a deal to them. Not everybody in the school teaches history or politics or government, by the way. There's lots of stuff. It's just ridiculous. You know, in algebra, when's the last time you got like, and by the way, don't be a racist. Like, is it really controversial to be like, hey, don't be racist? Don't be homophobic. Like, we have a diverse group of students here, and it would be shitty for us to advocate for you to treat them poorly. Like that's it. That's the whole thing. Like, on top of that, and I think this is important, school systems that allow for no discrimination is a good thing, especially as someone who is. I mean, you're Lauren Chen, right? You're not all a white person, right? I know that her dad is of Asian descent. I don't know about her mom, but you know, I don't want anybody making fun of you for something racist about you, which I'm sure probably happened at some point, right? Like, I don't think that we should allow that, and I don't know why you should. And your child is probably going to have some aspects of non-white passing things going on, or at least could. That would be bad. I don't want people to fucking like be mean to you because of your political like alignment necessarily either, unless you do like you know, if you're wearing like a I'm with her t-shirt and someone else is wearing like a MAGA t-shirt, it makes sense that you guys would not get along. It makes sense that you guys would have those. But like, if you're just like keeping it to yourselves and you're not talking about it, and someone goes like, you're a fucking Republican piece of shit, like, I don't think that's conducive for a good school environment either. So like, even as a lefty, I have taught I wouldn't allow that. Like, I'm not going to allow bullying just because I think that you're wrong about stuff. So I really don't know where they get off on this idea that like schools are just this like big woke commies. Have you been to a school? There's so many, like, a lot of teachers are Republicans, dude. It's not a big deal. Calm the fuck down.
For many, but not all of these people, education has come second to trying to instill the correct political ideology among students.
It really hasn't.
And I think so many parents out there, in their defense, kind of took it for granted that in schools, kids were kind of learning what they did back in the day. You know, just math, English, geography, et cetera, et cetera. So
they do learn that.
think a lot of parents were kind of naive and just assumed that everything was on the up and up when it came to their children's classes. But a lot of that changed when COVID happened. When COVID happened, a lot of schools started doing remote learning. And so instead of going off to the classroom for multiple hours a day, students were instead sitting at home receiving their instruction. And so I think a lot of parents kind of received a rude awakening about what exactly their kids were learning in school. A big eye-opener for a lot of parents out there, as we've seen unfolding in the news, is the fact that, yeah, a lot of school curriculum now is racially charged.
Racially charged. Bruh, we watched Roots when I was in school. What do you think the message behind Roots is? Like, what? Can I watch that? Slavery is not good. Can I learn about that? Like, we watched Glory, like, which is a Civil War movie. It's a corny one, but it's a Civil War movie about South Bad. Like, yeah, these are real things. You can't, like, why strip the connotation and context from, like, real things? The South was wrong in the Civil War. Racism is bad. Slavery was bad. Gay people are valid. There's not really more politics than happens in school. Like, they're not really talking about, they're not like, the Bible's not real and you shouldn't believe in Jesus. Like it's not a thing. They're not telling people to, like, live a certain way. They're just telling them that while you're at school, you can't be a fucking racist or a homophobe, and that it would be ideal for society for everybody to just get the fuck over it. Like, what? It's not like a big deal. If you go to college right now for teaching, you will learn to be equitable in the classroom across gender, sexuality, and race, and anything else. Basically, just make sure that you're not always picking certain demographics to answer questions. For instance, a great example of classroom equity, making sure that if you can help it, like assigned seating instead of letting people click up is a really good idea for class equity. Stuff like that. Like, it's just a really like easy thing to get right about education. I don't know, to call it leftist and woke is so weird to me.
It's not like it used to be. There's this whole narrative about systemic racism favoring white people that is shoved down so many different students' throats. And
systemic racism does factually benefit white people because it's what? My social studies classes watched Mississippi Burning. The right would want to murder my teacher. It's like 100 biddies. Thanks. FYI, if you haven't seen Mississippi Burning, watch it. It's an amazing film. I disagree, gamer guy. Just wash your hands.
And not only that, but as we are going to be talking about today, there is just plain a lot of very inappropriate material that has found its way into school lessons or just in general libraries. And not only that, but as we're going to be talking about today, there's also a lot of...
So we watched in school, we watched Band of Brothers. So I can watch Bill Garnier, who was called Gonorrhea in the show. I can watch Bill get his legs blown off with the gore of that in school, and that's fine because it happened in war. But I can't see anything like remotely sexual. I saw Saving Private Ryan as well. Yeah, I've seen all sorts of war movies in school, all sorts of violence, swearing. Like, we had to sign permission slips to be able to watch Roots, because it had, like, graphic depictions of slavery. Like, lots of stuff. Reproductive anatomy? Oh, fuck. Oh, God. Anyway.
Just very inappropriate and for some reason very sexual content that's made its way, if not into classrooms, then at least into libraries where students of concerningly young ages are free to look at that kind of stuff. And we have more to talk about, but first I do want to say a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Noble Gold. If you've been keeping up with the news, or heck, even if you haven't, a word that you've probably heard a lot lately is tapering. It's a new Fed buzzword, and you may have heard a lot of different explanations.
Okay, all right. Let's stop.
Pretty adult. Quick disclaimer for this episode, we're going to be talking about some pretty adult things and
adult stuff. In 6th or 7th grade, my teacher played a 9/11 video of people jumping from the tower and the sounds as they hit the ground. They had the sounds from the people hitting the ground in those videos? I have never seen that. I've seen the videos where they jump out, but never the sounds. More worried about my disabled kid getting bullied by peers and teachers, but I guess good for her being worried about kids learning that racism exists. I know, right?
Unlike public schools, apparently, I actually don't think these topics are suitable for all ages. So if you have any young children or just younger people around you, I would suggest putting in earphones, or heck, even if you are just not the type of person who is comfortable with explicit material, click away from this video. I won't be offended, and I will see you next time for something that's a little bit more chilled out.
A little more chilled out. The great replacement is happening. They're stealing our white babies. That's, by the way, pretty big SJW, dog whistling, like pretty fucking woke to have a content warning before your show here. Wow. Would you need a safe space? Snowflake. You get how it works. So, oh, goodness. I really strongly believe, and I think everybody agrees, except for Republicans. It's really weird to have hang-ups about sex. It is so weird. Like, not any hang-ups, just like these kinds of hang-ups where like just the discussion of sex is like so taboo that we have to give like explicit like I don't know, the vibe on this is like, if you're just uncomfortable with sex and stuff like, can we stop? Can we chill the fuck out, everybody? Can we just vibe for a minute? We all have genitals. We all have them. Even if you don't have genitals, you have genitals. Well, that bake your noodle. You probably have genitals, okay? Show me your genitals. That's a good song. Like there's genitals, and knowing their anatomy is good. And then also we all have sexual thoughts, even if your sexual thoughts are, I don't wanna. That's a thought about sex. That's fine too. We all have certain predilections. Okay? We like and do not like certain things. That's fine. If you're an adult and can't handle a cartoon kid sucking fake dog and you're pitiful and need help, I agree. We all have genitals. That's true. Yeah. And also most people have a sex drive, right? It's a thing. And if you don't, then that's okay too. But like there's an interesting social aspect to sex that makes people highly embarrassed, and it's only because it's perpetuated by this kind of bullshit. You ought to be embarrassed when sex occurs because that's an embarrassing thing, I guess. I don't know, dude. As someone who fucks, I just can't get with this stuff. We should talk about this. Destigmatize it. It'll be a lot better. First of all, if you destigmatize sex, you'll have a lot fewer like teenagers and stuff trying to fuck each other with the ferocity that teenagers try to fuck, right? It'll be a more chill situation where they're like, okay, I understand this more. I still want to fuck. I mean, I learned about it and I still enjoy it. But it won't be this, because a lot of people do things because they're told they can't do them. You know what I mean? A lot of people get into stuff that's banned on purpose, specifically because it's almost like you told someone what, and they're like, nah, I'm not, you can't tell me what. So, like, it doesn't make a lot of sense, just culturally speaking. If you are somebody who doesn't want a lot of teen pregnancies to happen, I'm one of them, or teen STIs, or worse aspects among teens where consent is sort of flimsy. If you don't like those things happening, maybe addressing them would be a good idea. Just tossing it out there. We could address sex responsibly, ethically, and then culturally see the impacts of a generation of people that are comfortable talking about and exploring their own sexuality, understanding consent and everything like that. We're going to get into this even more as we move on, but I think I need to lay the baseline of like what my politics are on that. Like, yeah, just let's talk about sex. It doesn't have to be like sexy, but it has matter-of-factly, here is sex. This is sex. Let's make sure it works out. Let's make sure everyone's consenting. Like, it's pretty easy.
What actually inspired me to make this video was this thread on Twitter by a concerned mother. She writes, "Welcome to Keller ISD," which, by the way, is a school district in Texas, okay? We're not talking about New York or California here. This is happening in Texas. She says, yes, a Texas school where legitimate visual porn, a felony offense, is in one of our libraries. They, referring to another mom, were quick to find the book and pulled it from a student's hands, realizing the severity of distributing porn. And along with this tweet, this woman also included a photo of one of the book's pages. And like I warn you, this is where it gets kind of graphic. We will censor things and maybe blur stuff out as
hell yeah, censor it and blur it so I can get monetized too.
We see necessary. We also want this video to remain on platforms like YouTube and Facebook, but just keep in mind that, you know, for decency's sake, we're going to try to tone it down in this video.
Wow, lots of content warnings.
But this stuff uncensored is available to high schoolers, maybe kids as young as like 14 in different schools, which should very much scare you. So this book portrays a sexual encounter in which a biological female is wearing, let's just say, a prosthetic male appendage.
Okay.
And this other person in the book is attempting to fellate said male appendage. The character writes, "This is the visual I'd been picturing, but I can't feel anything. This was much hotter when it was only in my imagination." Yikes, 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 yikes.
Wow. So it's interesting that she's doing yikes, 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 because she doesn't understand this. So I frankly think this is incredibly important. And like, I'm fine if you're uncomfortable with a kid looking at this. That makes sense. It is explicit. That's fine. But they're implying that this is like prescribed to kids, like by the school, and like the way that they go about this is like, I can't believe the school would do this. From all accounts, it seems that the book was donated to the library. Some kids picked it up and looked at it and were like giggling because of the content inside of it. And then they took it, and that was the end of it. And so mad, but it's fake dick. Thanks for telling me what to be afraid of, Lauren. Yeah, it's like a rating system. So, this is important. The book itself is actually, it seems like really good. This isn't about the blowjob part. Like, obviously, like no one's having their genital touched here. It's just like this person's trying to sexually please their partner, whatever. So the story here, if you haven't seen it, which would be weird, because you follow me on Twitter, of course, at Actual Corn. But the story here is a genderqueer individual, I think, because I've only seen some photos, so I'm just extrapolating. But a person who is fluctuating with their gender, AFAB, and has fantasies throughout the book of like having a penis and sort of that coming of age into puberty when sexual thoughts are happening, and not having the let's say sexual equipment necessary for a fulfilled sexual experience, right? Not having a dick because born with vajayjay, but desiring and fantasizing about having a dick, which I think is a pretty normal thing to fantasize about if in fact you happen to be a trans person. That seems incredibly interesting and probably a little nice and affirming to hear that somebody else has thought similarly. So what happens in this, and I don't know if she's going to show more panels, there's fantasies about like having like a bulge, and putting a sock in the pants and like touching it is sort of a form of masturbation, even though it's not genital stimulation. It's like the idea of stimulating. And then in this, sort of the idea was, I have a sexually active partner that I'm with. I shared with him a fantasy of looking down and seeing getting oral with a penis, right? I have a penis here. And so in this scene, you see, I'm trying to stay monetized. Maybe I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop it and we'll see what happens. I probably won't get monetized anyway. Who knows? So the two people engage in a sexual activity. They talk about like, sort of like, ooh, yeah, I'm going to do this thing. And like, there's the holy shit text. And this is just a very matter of fact, like, this doesn't feel like a lie. I think when people sext and they have a sexual fantasy and they share it and they get reciprocity from that, from their partner, it feels good. You're excited about it. You talk about it. And so this is a very important panel, wearing a strap-on, the visual I've been picturing. This is all perfect, but I can't feel anything. This is much hotter when it was only my imagination. Hey Z, which Lauren Chen stopped saying this, which I think is fucking wild. Hey Z, which I assume is this person's name, let's try something else. And then so they revoke consent, and then this person says, of course, with a little heart. It's very loving, and then they stop because the sexual fantasy was there, but it wasn't like, it kind of didn't do the trick, right? It wasn't good. So it was a discussion about like sexual fantasies, where they can get to. You get what you asked for, but even if you ask for it and you decide you didn't want it, you can just ask to stop, and then it will be stopped. It's consent. This is a good message. I understand that it showed a strap-on ding-dong in a mouth in an all illustrated. I understand that. If that's too much for you, okay, your personal limits are fine. You don't get to tell anybody else their personal limits. I understand if you don't want this in school. I'm fine with that. It wasn't prescribed by anybody. But to be outraged about the accident of it happening at school is a little silly. I haven't seen anyone say that they're just distributing this book to schools all over the country. Although this title implies it is. So maybe anyway, maybe it is. But even so, even if this was in all schools in the library, in every library, in every school in America, kids would have to choose to pick up the book, and they're in high school. They're going through this period of time. High schoolers absolutely have touched their own genitals, and a lot of them have touched somebody else's, probably with many of their different body parts, okay? I don't think we need to be super fucking precious about this.
Yikes, 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 yikes. But if you can believe it, things do get worse. Another tweet in this thread reads, we have a problem and need help. Our district has a ton of leftist teachers / librarians and counselors who push this plus SEL / CRT. It's literally a district run wild.
It isn't. Admiral Owl, thanks for the 17 months.
And with this post, there is unfortunately another image from this same book. The page reads, for years my standard method of, let's just say self-pleasure, was stuffing a...
You can't say masturbation? See, why are they so fucking precious about it? It's just masturbation, dude.
Sock into the front of my pants and manipulating the bulge. This would evolve into hip thrusting while thinking of my latest gay ship. Memorably, I got off once while driving just by rubbing the front of my jeans, imagining getting, let's just say, oral sex.
Blowjob. Blowjob. He who waits 500 biddies. Hey, Chat and Jake, remember, there's no need to hate yourself. The mistakes you made in your past are no reason to hate yourself. Learn to live with the errors you made. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it. Don't dwell on the past, Chat. Yeah, it's a blowjob. So this is what I was talking about. Like, just imagining having a penis, manipulating it until climax. I mean, like, now we can't fucking touch our own fake dicks. Doesn't even have a dick. Isn't even actually touching a dick. Touching the idea of a dick is just too much masturbation for these people. Chat, fap away. Fap as much as you'd like. Fap your real dicks, fap your fake dicks, fap somebody else's dick. I don't care. Comic book with light bajays. Riot. Kid being slaughtered every year by preventable gun violence. It is what it is. That's true. That's true. Would you rather a kid get shot to death with an AR-15 or see somebody manipulate their bulge in a book that they chose to pick up? Would you rather have a kid get shot with a gun or consent to reading a book privately by themselves?
Are you uncomfortable? Because I'm definitely uncomfortable.
Why are you uncomfortable? Why are you uncomfortable? These are teenagers. I'm not saying we gotta ship masturbation books to teenagers. I'm just saying if a teenager happens to pick up a masturbation book, who gives a fuck? They're teenagers. They're already actually masturbating. They can't read about it too? What? It's so weird to me. Like, they're opting into this. If this was like mandatory classwork, I would have a problem with it. I would. Because you can't make other people explore sexuality at all. You can't make them, right? They can opt into it, they can opt out of it, cool. But like, this is just in a library, some kids found it. It was donated, and they took the book out. It's not a big deal. It's so interesting. Like, kids 13 to 18, they're fucking, man. Even if it's only in their head, they're fucking. For the most part, there's some ace people, but like, you know, you could just probably, if you see a teenager, assume they've touched their dick in the last 24 hours, even if they don't have one. It's just so strange. So strange. I'm a V word. Yeah, true. How am I not uncomfortable?
Especially knowing that I have family members who watch my videos. But again, what should be concerning to
family
all
members
of us is
Did you know you got family members because they started coming in each other? One of your family members came in another one of your family members. One of your family members popped out of that person's genitals and then fucked somebody else. One of them came in someone else. And eventually you got here, and then you just got come in, and now you're going to make a baby that eventually will come in or get cummed in, probably. Maybe not, but probably. Not as a baby, as an adult. Well, probably a teenager. But like, as an adult or a teenager. Why don't you want your child that you are having to learn consent for those interactions that they will most certainly have in life? Right? I'm not saying you got to think about your kid like courting or your kid's gonna fucking masturbate, dude. Your kid is going to do these things. You're a parent. You're about to be a parent. You have to understand that these things are going to happen. You can't just ignore them. What 15-year-old fucking Lauren Chen Jr. is going to come up and be like, Mommy, why does it feel nice when my hoo-ha or ding-dong is touched by my hand? And then you're going to be like, don't even talk about it. What do you mean? Be like, yeah, that's masturbation. Please do it respectfully and not in front of other people. Like, just talk about it. Just talk about it. Please. Please talk about it. Dude, the only reason you're embarrassed is because your parents did a really fucking terrible job at teaching you about sex. That's a fact. 100% true. My parents were bad about talking about sex. My mom is super bashful about sex, bro. So weird. Very odd. Very odd stuff. Doesn't make any sense.
The fact that
we're all just cum, chat.
This material
Argonian Bum, thanks for 15 months.
Is being made available to minors by schools. And a final tweet reads, we are just moms with proof of CRT/SEL and now this. We are playing whack-a-mole with porn books and CRT and SEL. Don Huffins, you need to hear us and take a stand against this. We moms are waiting for someone to talk about us and our kids. People pay thousands of money in property taxes for this. So a whole bunch of yikes, right? I think the vast majority of us hopefully will look at these images and say, yeah.
Social and emotional learning, is that what SEL is?
This is not appropriate.
Thousands of money? Wait, is that what she said? Wait, what?
Hear us and take a stand against this.
Did she say that?
We moms are waiting for someone to talk about us and our kids. People pay thousands of money in property.
She did say that. Why is she saying thousands of money, bro? What?
Taxes.
Why?
This,
Go
so
on.
a whole bunch of
That's a funny flub, Lauren.
yikes, right? I think the vast majority of us hopefully will look at these images and say, yeah, this is not appropriate for a minor. And
sure, unless they pick it up on purpose, a minor can absolutely read that book. Like a teenager? Read that book. I don't care. Go ahead. That makes sense. A 10-year-old? What are they even going to do with that book? They're not going to know anything. They're not going to know about stuff. But a 13-year-old? Woo! Them hormones going bananas. It could help. What's the big deal? I thought we were against the banning of materials. Seems strange.
And those of us who disagree, frankly, I hope you end up on a list someday because you certainly belong on one. But what I did see some people comment in
what list? What is this fascination? It's so weird. This happened on Twitter a lot. If you're like, yeah, sex is a thing, and kids need to learn about it when they're like going through puberty, you say that to some Republicans, they're like pedophile. It's like, dude, this book is about consent and exploration of your own body. Like, I don't really understand. Like, this is like sex ed 101 shit. This isn't even like I guess they showed the strap-on. The strap-on was too much. The sex toy was too much for them. 15-year-olds are looking at porn on the phones, right? I mean, literally, they're looking at porn all the time. I don't even know. I don't know what we're pretending to be outraged about. I don't understand it. Sex is the thing that occurs. What we gonna ignore it? Why? Who does that help? Kids should be learning consent from the moment they go into school, not sexual consent, just the concept of consent. Hey, can I have a hug? Hey, can I share that toy with you? Hey, do you want some of my ice cream? And then the gross little fucking snotty-nosed kids lick each other's ice cream cones like a bunch of gremlins, fucking petri dish bastards. I hate kids. Well, in long bursts, I hate kids. In short bursts, they're just fine. They go play over there, and I'm over here, and they go over there, and they look like little people playing with each other, and then I can just be over here, and their parents can deal with them if they poop their pants or whatever kids do. You know what I mean? Like, that's great. But, like, when they're teenagers, right? Like, if you've just taught consent throughout school and made sure that consent is the basis, you could start sex ed very quickly at, like, probably 12, whenever they're freshmen or even 8th grade, honestly. But probably 8th grade, and then they're prepared for high school a little bit better, or however your schools are set up. But whatever the age group, and whatever you decide, somewhere around puberty age is obviously ideal. You're going to teach them anatomy first, because I think that's super important. And then probably teach them about masturbation, because that's going to be the first way that most people explore their own sexuality. And we're not going to be like just from a sexual ed standpoint, like just knowing my body and what I would have liked to know as a kid with hindsight as an adult, obviously, a sexually active adult. The anatomy is super important. I mean, I didn't know what stuff did. And I don't really mean like just anatomy. I do mean to some extent having kids be able to ask, hey, will I hurt myself if I break my dick when it's hard or something? You know what I mean? Like, you got to be able to talk to kids about their bodies without being fucking weird about it. As a Christian AFAB, I watched a lot of porn in 4th grade. Is that unusual? 4th grade? That seems early. I definitely didn't watch it in 4th grade. Definitely closer to freshman year of high school. I don't know when it was, but definitely closer to that. Although I graduated at 17, so maybe I'm a little behind the curve there. But because I would have been younger. But really, the point is you want people to be able to understand. You don't have to be. I'm not going to be like giving you tips on how to fap. I'm just going to say, hey, if something hurts, it probably isn't right. Like, it's probably not good for your body. And then I think strongly consider, like, if you are going to masturbate, make sure that you're alone. And if you're not alone, maybe you have a partner or something. Mutual masturbation is a totally valid sexual exploration that is risk-free and provides you sexual gratification while being safe, just as long as everybody's consenting to it. That's fine. If you're not, if people are not consenting, you don't Louis C.K. people. You know what I mean? So you could, again, it just breeds sexual health. And I understand that, again, it's weird to talk to kids about their dicks and their hoo-has. I guess not for me, but for them. Like, I don't find it weird because it would be in a professional setting. We're not inviting them over to the fucking living room. We're gonna talk to them in a classroom setting. I'd be fine if parents attended. I think that's actually beneficial for everybody as long as they shut the fuck up. Like, sit back there and listen and learn, and then afterwards we'll open up for a Q&A where parents can, if they want to be involved in this conversation, go for it. Yeah, if you stick shit, if you're gonna try to stick things in yourselves, which you might try to do, there are proper ways to do it. And we can also talk about it discreetly. If everyone has discreet messages that they'd like to share, come with your parents, sit down, and we can have a discussion with it. That's fine. If you want to do it without your parents, parents can sit at the back of the room and you can come up and we can sort of whisper talk a little bit while they're still in front of you. Because, any impropriety, frankly, I would want chaperones. I would want other adults in the room with me just because, as a professional security situation, and also just an ethical one, because I'm not going to be the one teaching sex ed all the time. It might be actually a weirdo. You could, and don't get me wrong, these people are like, oh, but what if a pedophile teaches our kids? That could happen. It could. You know what would help? teaching people from an early age about consent and sex, it feeds itself. It's a feedback loop. You start this program, by the next generation of people, you got people that are going to be less likely to be sexual deviants. And I mean sexual deviance in the way that I mean it, not how they mean it. Sexual deviance is insofar as like violations of consent in the law and ethics, right? Like people that hurt people. Like that's a deviant. You know what I'm saying? Don't come with your parents. Oh, true. Yeah, don't come with your parents. Hilarious. To be fair, you did come into being because your parents came, at least one of them. So, anyway, there's lots of ways that we can do sex ed in this country. It's really easy. We just got to stop being little bitches about it. It's really fucking easy to just be like matter of fact. Because if you tear sort of the veil away from sex and stop making this ooh scary, they're not going to do it as much, which is great because kids don't need to be fucking each other as much as they do. Like, I don't know. I remember me as a teenager, dude, and I'm a horny adult. Come on. It was a lot. It was a lot of horny. And like there's no reason to like foster a sort of like taboo, we only fuck in the car at Lover's Peak. Like, why not in their homes safely where they're not going to get shot by the Zodiac? Like, you know what I mean? How about with protection or prophylactics or birth control and having healthcare? This is especially important for people that have the more complex sex organ in the vagina and the ovaries and the uterus and the whole thing. That entire system is so much more like complicated than my dick and balls, right? Because everything's exterior. I can kind of look at it and sort of assess it, but you're feeling, if something goes wrong, you're usually feeling it interiorly, and you have to like figure it out. And that could go wrong from not sex. That could go wrong from masturbation. That could go wrong just in general, just from nothing. It could also go wrong from having sex. I mean, there's lots of things. So there's just so much that we could prevent that just like is super easy, and it doesn't have to be awkward. I'm not trying to fucking have anybody prey on kids. In fact, I 100%, like, I guarantee if we just implemented my version of sexual education, and not just my version, but like leftist sexual education, in general, just our viewpoint on sex, it would be taken care of in 2 generations. Like 2 12-year groups of kids. You know what I mean? Would fix it, because that second 12-year group of kids would start teaching the third group, and then it would just be we'd have in 3 generations a country where you would see a massive decline in sexual assaults, a massive decline in pretty much any sex-based negative thing that you can think of. So like STIs and pregnancies, abortions, all of that stuff. So
in response.
And the research suggests that I'm right.
So this thread is that, I mean, this book is clearly inappropriate for children, but you don't actually have proof that this is being shown or available in public schools. I mean, for all we know, this is just some person on the internet who has gone to a more adult section of the bookstore, taken some photos, and is now alleging that those crazy leftists are trying to push porn on.
I would love to see if there's crates of these books being shipped into schools.
Our kids.
And then they're being forced to read them as children.
In schools, you don't have proof that this is part of the school system. Yeah, well, this mom actually did bring receipts. In a follow-up tweet, she actually provided a screenshot of the book, indeed available, it looks like, on what she referred to as the Follett Library app.
Yeah, right. So, again, when you have books like this, what happens usually is they're scanned in to the system when they're donated in, and obviously they have one copy of it. It was out, and that way they could just know what the book looks like. They can keep it on their records. I can't imagine they looked through this very much when they got it donated to them. They have a more sophisticated thing than I had, but I graduated a long time ago. So this is pretty easy stuff. I don't. This is definitely proof of the book that exists that this lady was talking about. I don't know that this is proof that they're shipping them en masse to schools.
Like on what she referred to as the Follett Library app. And this book in question, by the way, is called Genderqueer by Maya Kobabe, or Kobebe. I'm not sure. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. But once I saw this tweet circulating and gaining some traction, I actually took it upon myself to look up this book. And it turns out that this is not the first time that this book has been found in a public school library. So again,
how many times has it been found in a public school library?
This mom posting on Twitter, she is in Texas, but there's actually reports that this book at least used to be in libraries in Virginia. And
wow. There were some libraries in Virginia that had them. Fuck. A book? Wow. That seems pretty strange.
Guess what? Once parents found out about it, they were pretty upset about it. As ABC News reports, a Northern Virginia school system said it's removing 2 books from school libraries, including an illustrated memoir that contains explicit illustrations of sexual encounters involving children after a parent expressed concern about them at a school board meeting.
God. Saying explicit illustrations of sexual encounters involving children is so much a frame job of what that actually is. Sexual encounters of 2 teenagers having consensual sexual interaction, like
meeting on
because this just sounds like pedophiles, right? Obviously, like when you read that, it sounds like some dude is taking kids. You know what I mean?
Friday, the school system initially said it was conducting a review. Later in the day, it said it was pulling Genderqueer by Maya Kobabe and Lawn Boy by Jonathan Ivizin from circulating pending a more detailed review. Here's the thing,
Let me look up Lawn Boy. Lawn Boy. Lawn Boy. What is inside that book? Lawn Boy. Sex scene, maybe? Sex scene. I don't know. Is there any Lawn Boy? It's not even illustrated? Lawn Boy is not illustrated. What the fuck? Wait, am I dumb? It's a novel. It doesn't even have illustrations. It just has sexual content in it. Is Anne Frank's diary banned? Like, she fucking faps in that book, dude. Yeah, it's gay. It's just a gay book where apparently gay teenagers fuck, dude. Oh, dude, I've read so many books, novels that have sex in them that were given to me by teachers. Is that our bar, dude? These people are Puritans. They're fucking piss babies, dude. I thought we were for freedom. Like, what? If a kid that is in their teen... I get it if they're 8 years old. I get it if they're in middle school. But they're in high school, bro. They're in high school. They can choose to engage consensually with sexual content about themselves. Like, what? We're not handing them porn. Like, I get it if it was specifically material for, like, sexual arousal, right? Like, intended to arouse the reader sexually. This is a bodice ripper. This is a fuck novel. This is the audio you'd hear on Tumblr. You know what I mean? Like, this is not what that is, though. These are novels about people's personal experiences. There happens to be sex in them. Like, they're not showing, like, full penetrative human sex for the purposes, like, porn. It's just a thing that happens. Jesus Christ, these people. God. I would get it if the teachers were forcing kids to read these. Like, for book reports. Read the gay book for the book report. It has sex in it. But, like, motherfucker... What's that one book? The Grapes of Wrath? That ends with an old man sucking a titty. Like, what? Sure, I was highly aroused by the old man sucking the titty. All right? But that doesn't mean it was intended for arousal. I just like sucking on titties. So, fuck yeah, titty suckies. I just don't understand why you're so weird about it.
not someone who's in favor of book burning, and I'm not going to go to a publisher, for example, and demand or
also had graphic violence. Oh yeah.
Protest that they stop publishing a book
Of Mice and Men ends with a disabled man getting shot in the head. You're right.
Because of its contents or because of who the author is. That's just not my thing. But if you ask me, that's a little bit different than simply expressing concern that a book is being made available to minors. You can be
calling them minors instead of teenagers on purpose to make it sound like they're giving it to 8-year-olds.
Pro-free speech, absolutely, when it comes to what adults are able to read or look at, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't have some standards of appropriateness or content discretion when it comes to high schoolers.
I agree, but I think a kid can choose to read a book, man.
And what I think is kind of slimy is that when the publisher of this book, Genderqueer, got wind that this book was being removed from the public library or the high school library, they actually spoke out against the decision. Again, as ABC News writes, Genderqueer publisher Oni Press issued a statement Friday saying that limiting the book's availability is short-sighted and reactionary. Oni Press supports Maya Kobabe for the truth and strength in sharing ear story. And by the way, this author does use e, ear, m pronouns, which I don't think I'd heard of before, but I mean, I've looked at pictures of the author. It's very clearly like this is a biological woman. They say Oni Press supports my
Lauren, random person that's fallen. Why? Like, why go out of your way, dude? Like, it's just such shitty behavior, man. Like, you were doing okay. You were doing okay. This person uses these neo-pronouns. I've never heard of them before. Cool. And then just out of your way, it looks like a biological female. Like, come on, man. Let me look. That's actually fascinating. Okay. I disagree? Huh. Okay. I was expecting yeah. But really? You're like biological female. I mean, I guess. Pretty weird. I don't understand. I don't understand what the point is of being shitty to that person. Dude in chat named Gray Chud. You're everything wrong with this world. You can't use the wrong "your" when you're trying to burn me, bro. You gotta tell me why I'm wrong with the world, dude. Like, what do I represent as wrong with the world? You gotta explain it, man. You gotta come better than that. Do better next time you text in my chat. Do better. Feeling sore shit. No one cares about that. You gotta do better. Okay? God. Will one of you please do a good job?
Maya Kobabe for the truth and strength in sharing your story and hope to be a home for others who want to share their own stories with the world. The fact is, Genderqueer is an important, timely piece of work that serves as an invaluable resource for not only those that identify as non-binary or genderqueer, but for people looking to understand what that means. Look, I get that a publisher wants to
just say tweet. Yeah, we were looking at a tweet.
Sell as many books as possible, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that they can't have integrity when it comes to protecting children.
All right, buddy. I can't. If you're gonna fucking meme in my chat, you gotta go, bud. All right, you're timed out. I can't.
From what is obviously obscene material. For example, with this video, I am making it, I'm publishing it, it's good for me if more people watches it, but that still doesn't mean that I want children to watch this video, right? Because I'm not a total piece of crap, and I still think that protecting children,
just a partial piece of crap. Hell yeah.
Children's innocence is more important than, I don't know, me getting more views, or in the publisher's cases, selling more books. But wait, again, there is more, because there's always more. A similar thing happened with this same book in Florida. As the Gateway Pundit writes, the book Genderqueer, a memoir by Maya Kobabe, a graphic novel with drawings that explain in lurid detail the sexual interactions between two young men, has been inserted into high school libraries across America, despite it violating guidelines against pornography or sexually explicit materials being provided to minors and paid for with our tax dollars.
It's interesting. Lurid details. Calling them two young men is interesting because they saw the strap on and thought it was a dick and then stopped looking at it because they're like, oh, I just can't look at it because there was people like in the room with them. But like later on they opened the book and started reading it. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Dude, if a high school has decided that they want this book in there, that's fine. You just can't make it required reading. That's fine too. There's way worse books. Like, I've definitely seen worse books than this book in my high school library, insofar as like sexual content is concerned, or like ridiculous violence or anything like that. Very strange.
Now, this article actually came about when a reporter for the Gateway Pundit decided to attend a school board meeting in Florida. From what I understand,
You're non-binary, but you still cringe at neo-pronouns. It's just me. I don't know if it's just me being reactionary or what. Yeah, get over yourself. Yeah. If neo-pronouns make you cringe, fucking who gives a shit about that? Why should that matter? Why do you care? Just fucking use them. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm sticking to he, him, or she, her. I'm not going to use they, them for you. Like, it's the same thing, man. Like, why would you do that? Of course not. That'd be silly. It's just your own hang-up. Why does your personal hang-up get to dictate what anybody else is addressed as? It's like me saying, my name is Jake, and then you going, no, I'm going to call you John. No, you're not. I mean, you can. I'm not going to address you. It's your problem, not anybody else's. Your cringe is your own fault.
the journalist in question was attending this specific school board meeting because the particular district was actually not adhering.
Yeah, I know you're not saying they're not valid. Yeah. I know what you're saying. And I'm saying you got to get over that shit. You just got to get over it. Not about you. It doesn't matter. You already know that, though. Just because you have the feelings doesn't mean the feelings are correct. You know what I'm saying? I'm not being mean to you. I'm just saying that's the truth. What do you want me? Did you want me to give you the fake answer? I'm not gonna give you the fake answer. The real answer might be like, oh, a little frowny face, but like, you know what? That's the real answer. I'm not gonna give it. It is what it is. You got to get over yourself. That's all. I respect you asking the question, to be honest. Jake, why are they acting like this YA comic novel is a copy of Hustler? Gonna go out on a limb and saying the fake binge. Okay, bye, sorry. Owl feathers. My dude. My pal. That's not the reaction you should have when people tell you the answer to the question you asked. You know? If you ask a question and someone gives you just the straight answer, like I did, you shouldn't be upsetty spaghetti. You should be like, cool. That makes sense. It is something you got to get over. If you have insecurities or something about it, that's on you, not on somebody else. And that's just how it is. Yeah. Nothing wrong with you learning that today. No one hates you for that. It's a weird reaction. King Quill, thanks so much for the 3 months, man.
Adhering to Governor DeSantis's, mask ban or ban on mask mandates, rather. You could still wear masks if you want to. But when he was at the school board meeting, he actually met some parents who then showed him this book, Genderqueer, and they were there at the meeting to express concerns about it.
I love how the parents are taking the book to the school to show other people the book that is bad to have in school. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of that.
So, as this author writes, when public comment commenced ahead of the listed agenda items during Tuesday afternoon's meeting, this GP journalist used his allotted time to alert OCPS board members of the situation by reading some of the more graphic passages from Genderqueer. After reading aloud a portion of just one section, which included the characters in Genderqueer discussing the use of a strap-on dildo and performing oral sex on one another,
there's just more outrage.
OCPS Chairman Teresa Jacobs demanded this journalist cease reading from the passage. After refusing to do so, she instructed OCPS police officers to eject this journalist from the meeting by force. I mean, this is pretty ironic, right? The school board allows this book to be available to minors, to high schoolers, yet they think it's
finally saying high schoolers
too obscene and too pornographic to be read at one of their meetings where there are only adults present. And
but it's because they're all fucking dumb. What do you mean? It's just because it's dumb.
Actually, there is video.
And also, for the record, when you choose to pick up a book, you are consenting to the content within that book when you read it and continue to read it, right? You can set it down at any point. Reading it out loud is a little bit different. Not everybody consented to have the sexual content be talked about, so it is different. But they're all just a bunch of babies that needed sex ed when they were in school. Just tossing that out there.
Of this meeting going on, which we will include here.
A passage from Gender.
Yeah, just straight up, just interrupting this thing. Yeah.
Queer. Fast forward, we've been dating for 2 months. We've made out. We've had sex. We've moved on to sexting at work. I got a new strap-on harness today. I can't wait to put it on you. It will fit my favorite dildo perfectly. You are going to look so hot.
Irony of what I'm about to say.
I'd like to continue reading.
No, we're not going to have, sir, I'm sorry.
I want to have your blanket
Mr.
in my
English,
mouth.
you're out of order, and if you remove him from the chambers.
I swear so many of these school board members are just drunk with power. But anyway.
Drunk with power. Has she been to a school board meeting, dude? Like, good God.
The article finishes. Parents sitting in the front row were outraged over the removal and excuse by OCPS board chair Teresa Jacobs, who claimed she had no idea the book was in the classroom, to which the parents replied, "That's the problem."
Well, yeah, but like... Brevard County. Brevard. Fuck. I used to live there. Do they think high schoolers aren't banging in cars and giving head in the janitor's closet? Yeah, I don't know.
Everett County Public Schools, it continues, which neighbors Orange County immediately pulled the book from schools after they were made aware that the students had access to it for violating district guidelines. School board districts in Virginia have also recently pulled Genderqueer for similar reasons. So clearly this book appearing in a public school is not a one-off situation, and if you are a parent and you have a child in public school, specifically high school, I highly recommend you go to their library or, go online if there's a database and you look up this book. And if this book is there, not only do I suggest you do something about it, let someone know, because it should not be.
We should ban the book.
There, but I think it being there might be a good litmus test as to what other material will be available to your child, as well as to what other issues that aren't really appropriate might be being taught, if that makes sense.
That's not teaching. What? Having a book in a library is not teaching kids the thing in the book. How does she think that school libraries are sourced? School libraries are sourced almost exclusively through book drives. Now, unless they're like a bougie school, but like it's donations, book drives, and then curriculum stuff, and then if there's any sort of like required reading thing, like it's librarians' jobs to sort of like facilitate the books that are in the school, that are in circulation in the school, and understand them. But then there's also donations, and you just sort of take them and you catalog them and put them in there, right? So like, I don't understand the point here. I really don't. And a lot of them get donated by libraries or bookstores, or private collectors, or someone might just donate a grant or something. They might get federal money, and they'll be able to buy some books. Like, there's a whole bunch of ways that this happens. It's not because they have a political agenda. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just how you get books, man.
In the classroom. And seeing as how this book seems to be everywhere and seems to be making so many parents angry, I thought I would do more research into it. So I checked out the Amazon page for it, and the first thing I want to note is that even according to this publisher, this book is only appropriate or recommended for kids over the age of 16 years.
Like a high schooler, maybe? Like somebody in high school. That's 3 age groups. That's 16, 17, and 18-year-olds in high school. And even 19-year-olds in high school. Being able to read the book. I think maybe we could read the book in high school. Yeah. I think maybe you could be like, hey, librarian, I want this book. And the librarian goes, hey, how old are you? And you're like, I'm 14. They're like, no, this is for 16-year-olds only. And then you could stop them from getting the book and learning about the strap-on blowjob, because it'll ruin their childhood and strip all joy and light out of their eyes. Yeah.
Now, based off what I've seen of the book, I would say that should probably be 18, but still, even if you say, all right, this shouldn't be available to kids under 16, why is it in high school libraries, right? Because anyone in high school is able to access those books. That means including kids who are younger than 16.
Sure, but maybe you could just put a sticker on it and the librarian could be like, "You 16, Timmy?" And Timmy could go like, "Yeah." And they'd be like, "I don't believe you can't have it." That's fine.
And it's also interesting because this book, even though it's kind of like a comic, it's actually not short. It's over, I think, 250 pages. It's like a whole autobiography or memoir. And this is what the publisher has to say about the book. In 2014, Maya Kobabe, who uses ear pronouns, thought that
It's probably air, right? Like they, them, there. air.
Comic of Reading Statistics would be the last autobiographical comic E would ever write. At the time, it was the only thing E felt comfortable with strangers knowing about M. Now Genderqueer is here. Maya's intensely cathartic autobiography charts your journey of self-identity, which includes the mortification and confusion of adolescent crushes, grappling with how to come out to family and society, bonding with friends over erotic gay fanfiction, and facing the trauma and fundamental violation of pap smears. And I just want to say that even if it weren't for the explicit, if not downright pornographic parts
Why do they call it pornographic? Why? The only way you can consider something pornographic is if it evokes sexual arousal in you. Does the depiction of the teenagers doing the strap-on evoke sexual arousal in you? Because it's 2 fucking panels. It's 2 of them. Actually, it's 1 of them. Well, I guess it's 2. It's 2 of them, and then they ask to stop, and then they do that, and it's over. Like, stop it, please. Calling it pornographic is just a self-report, man.
Of this book, I still don't think this should be something that is available for teenagers, much less
You don't think that a teenager should read about sexual health? You fucking crazy weirdo. What a puritanical, strange person.
made available to them by their public school.
Oh.
Make no mistake, this
Made available to them by their public school. Why? School is where you learn stuff. It's just where you learn. Again, they can go choose to read the book or choose not to read the book. 100% fine with that. If they were prescribed the book as like homework, I would disagree with it because it has sexually explicit stuff in there and not everybody's comfortable with that. That's fine. But if you consent to that, a thing you could learn about from reading the book, you would understand better.
This book is absolutely chock full of progressive gender ideology nonsense.
Lauren, you fucking loser. What? It's a book. It gets to have an opinion about stuff, and kids get to learn about that opinion. Kids get to learn about the opinion of things. What are you talking about? They also get to learn about straight people every day, and cis people every single day. There are other people that exist. What? It's just so weird. It's so weird that you have this political ideology that limits the knowledge and freedom of people. Like, but you could still say that you're the Freedom Party? Like, what is going on? You're fucking banning books, dude. You're banning books. Do you understand what you're doing? It's incredible. It is an incredible indictment of the entire ideology. Wild stuff.
For example, I actually have some more pages here I thought we could go through
Yeah,
together.
let's go
because
through
it all
some
just
pages,
is
man.
Mind-blowing stuff. In one panel, this pink-haired girl explains, I use the Spivak pronouns em, er as an ask M what E wants in er T.
Ask M what he wants in air T.
To which I guess the Maya insert character says, em, er, I love those pronouns. I just got the biggest tingle down my spine. The other person says that was my reaction too. Yeah, these are mentally ill people who are frankly trying to propagate more mental illness under the guise of an extreme political / social ideology. And
Okay, why do they always say that? What? You can't spread mental illness. That is not a way. That is not a thing that happens. That's not anything. Dude, if you want your pronouns, if you want someone to address you with different pronouns, like, what? It just makes you feel good? Fucking let them do what they want, you weirdo. Like, let someone live their life. I can't imagine. It's so weird that you're against mask mandates, but for preventing people from having their own identity in the way that they describe it. Like, what? I find one much more fundamental to the existence of a person. Like, if I had to choose between mandating you to wear a mask and just telling you to fuck off when it comes to trans people and their pronouns, I would choose that one. You don't have to wear a mask. I don't care. Because one is a more fundamental violation of someone's freedoms. And that is you kind of outright saying, if you think that you have different pronouns than what I think you have a mental illness and are just a crazy person that should not be trusted. Like, what? What kind of fucking barbaric, dumb brain do you have?
And this has no place among children. Another panel explains my thinking. Having a non-binary or trans teacher in junior high would have meant the world to me. Every time I fail to give my pronouns, I feel like a coward. I just want to be clear, not giving your pronouns doesn't make you a coward. That makes you a normal person who realizes that the English language does not revolve around them. And
what? It's so weird. It's so weird that they think that it's about, like, control of language.
There's something so controlling about pronouns because think about it.
What's controlling about it? Your name is Lauren. You're controlling my speech by having your name. You dumb bitch. What the fuck?
You don't even really use like gendered pronouns when you're speaking directly to a person. It's only when you're referring to them in the third person. So these people are such control freaks that they want to control.
Is that a control freak thing? What?
How you refer to them when they're not even there or when you're not even talking to them.
Oh, but talking about them, yeah. And then understanding that their gender is, like, specific to them. And also you can address someone in the third person in front of other people. Like, hey, everybody. Lauren did a great job. Let's give her a round of applause, which no one would ever do because you're a failure.
That's crazy. They should not have that much power
Vitalci,
over you. And I mean, this goes both ways. Like if I were a teacher.
Them, she used the singular them. Well, you know, using singular them in there is pretty interesting.
Sure, I wouldn't use whatever crazy pronouns my student wants because that's insane. They're a student. They're not the boss of me. And if
students get to choose how you refer to them. They actually do get to choose how you refer to them. She's clearly never been to school for teaching. So, you can't tell a kid that you're going to not call them a certain thing. If a kid demands that you call them by a certain name, you're kind of not going to win that fight. The parents are going to get involved. The principal's going to get involved. They're going to be like, why are you being a cunt to my child? And then you could likely, I mean, you could lose your job as a teacher, and this is a good thing, for not respecting your students as individuals. You don't get to bring your political ideology into class, like about that. Like if you vehemently disagree about pronouns, that doesn't matter because you just can't discriminate against kids because you don't agree with whatever is going on in their lives. You don't get to. Sorry, dude. And you might say, well, why do they get to bring their politics in? Because their parents are the ones that pay the taxes that make the schools go burr. They're the ones. If you want to go to a private Christian school where they're not going to put up with that shit, that's fine. I don't care. It's a private school. You're opting into that. You know what I mean? You understand what's happening. But in a public school, you just don't get to. Lauren Chen would get fired immediately.
If I were a student and I had a trans teacher, it'd be the same. I would not be on board, and I just hate.
And then you would get fucking into detention and eventually expelled for being a piece of shit to the teacher. Like you just can't. You also can't be incredibly disrespectful to the people there. Like what?
That this discussion is even part of the school system. Another panel reads, in high school, I began to theorize that I had been born with two half souls, one female and one male. I swear these people, they see gender as like a replacement for personality, which is.
It's so weird. Like, do you think that Lauren Chen actually believes this? Or do you think that Lauren is just like hyper grifting? Because it feels like she believes it. Like, she thinks that every single trans person is just super disingenuous about their reality. Like, she hears millions of trans people go, I feel more comfortable living this way. And she goes, nuh-uh, you just want attention. Whereas most trans people would be like, can you stop paying attention to me, please? I would like to just exist without it being a topic. Like, what? Like, have you talked to a trans person, Lauren?
Is why
She's
they
such a
make their
fucking
genders their
ghoul.
personality. But I mean, this is just such a shallow way to live, and it's unhealthy. You can wear whatever you want. You can have whatever interests or hobbies you want. It doesn't make you some other gender. And another thing I think is concerning about this book is,
what does she think gender is? Hobbies and dress?
That I feel like it also pushes some really confusing messages about asexuality. This author, from what I've seen, doesn't seem to know whether she is asexual or not. And I feel like she is the type of person who will identify as queer or asexual or whatever is most special at the time as a form of attention.
Okay. I have to ask this question. Let's say it's not the case. Let's say every trans person was doing so for attention, which is clearly not the case. Why would you give a shit? Why does that matter? Like, what? Okay. This is my name. It's my name is Glitter. What'd you say? Glitter Gun. My name is Glitter B Gun. You guys can speculate what the B means. My name is Glitter B Gun. What is? What are you getting mad at me for? Just call me Glitter, bro. Glitter B Gun. The B stands for bees. Glitter Bees Gun.
Because really, there seems to be a lot of conflicting messages here. In one panel, she apparently told her close friend that she thinks she's asexual, to which they replied, "You can't be, I've seen you lust after people." To which she replied, "Well, yeah, but not very often, and I don't enjoy it." She also says, "I remember my first year at San Francisco Pride thinking that the asexual group had the best signs." She writes that the main trait I've always been attracted to is androgyny, which made categorizing my sexuality difficult. Did the girl with a buzz cut catch my eye because she was a girl or because she was dressed as a boy? And was it his seemingly feminine or masculine qualities that drew me to the long-haired boy in choir? I don't think you know what asexual means, or queer, and it's fine.
Does she? What? I really don't think that Lauren understands these topics. These sexualities. Holy shit.
You know, it's actually normal for young people to maybe go through some amount of sexual confusion as they're going through adolescence. Happens to a lot of people,
Sure.
But I don't think the answer there is to have them be led by people who it seems are still confused about their sexuality. Like, that just doesn't, that's like the blind leading the blind.
God, she's so fucking stupid, bro. She's so fucking stupid. Why would you not benefit through the musings of someone going firsthand through a similar process? Even if they never find the answer, understanding their process and where they end up in their final answer to the question, even if it's still fluid to this day, how is that harmful or not beneficial? It would be incredibly beneficial. It's like, it's not like the blind leading the blind. It's like trying to learn how to build a house, and a guy only knows how to do drywall, doesn't know how to do foundation, so you read the drywall book. You're just going to have to read a foundation book as well. There's other things that go into building a house. Might need to read the electrician book, too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe it's just not the book with all the fucking answers. Maybe it's just the book about one person's journey. I don't understand the prescriptive nature that she had on that at the end, saying that, like, if you write a book about sexuality, you better have a definite answer about it. Like, she's so fucking stupid. Lauren Chen is a ghoul. Lauren Chen is a stupid ghoul with stupid ghoul takes. This book in general, just to fucking recap, I guess, this book in general, it's whatever. For 16 plus, seems totally fine to me. I don't care what library they get it from. If you don't want it in your school, petition the board and see what happens. If your school board determines that the book shouldn't be there, I don't give a shit. They can go get the book somewhere else. It's not a big deal to me. I don't really care. If they're, like, no one's prescribing the book to any kids. Kids can, and when I say kids, again, we're talking 16 plus is what the book is intended for. These are all people that could benefit from the book. Even people that don't identify as the same way as the author does, or even similar to the author, could benefit from it, just for getting another person's perspective. Like, I'm not a young Jewish girl exploring my body in the middle of the Holocaust, but Anne Frank's diary is a book that I've benefited from. So is Eli Wiesel's Night, another book about the Holocaust, where you learn about things that are incredible. Like, I learned about people getting their fucking skin just fucking baked off and all the torture they would go through in the Holocaust. I can learn about that shit, but not somebody having consensual sexual interactions that ends in lack of consent, like in the changing of consent, and then the other person going, okay, you're valid, we will stop and do something different. Like, I can't benefit from that, but I can benefit from Eli Wiesel's Night. Okay. That's the end of the video. I love your faces.